guys, welcome back to Zero World News, here with another episode. The article I'll be reading is coming from ZeroHedge.com, titled The Coming Biden-Putin Trainwreck Summit. That's a great way to label what is about to happen on June 16th. President Biden accusing Russia, especially Putin, of cyber attacks, ransomware, all these sanctions that have been applied to Russia, where they're very hard to remove those because they've been passed through Congress and the Senate. They might not ever be removed. There's the sabotaging of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. There's the buildup of the military on the borders of Russia. There's military exercises every other month going on the borders of Russia and on the Black Sea. There's hostile talk toward and disrespect towards Russia and Putin. If this is supposed to be a reset of relationships between the US and Russia, they're going about it the wrong way. If anything, this is building up to be a declaration of war summit, or a kind of threat summit, where if Russia's going to back China, we're going to go to war with you. We're going to do something far worse. The United States does not look good what it's doing around the world. We're looking like bullies all over the world, starting fights, starting wars, stealing gold from different countries. So this is authored by Ron Paul via the Ron Paul Institute of Peace and Prosperity. I have my doubts whether the Putin-Biden summit in Geneva will take place later this month. But even if somehow it is pulled off, recent Biden administration blunders mean the chance anything of substance will be achieved is virtually nil. The Biden administration was supposed to signal a return of the adults to the room. No more bully Trump telling NATO it's useless, ripping up international climate treaties, threatening to remove troops from the Middle East and beyond. U.S. foreign policy would again flourish under the steady practice hands of the experts. Then Biden blurts out in a television interview that President Putin was a killer with no soul. Then U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken discovered the hard way that his Chinese counterparts were in no mood to be lectured on an international rules-based order that is routinely flouted by Washington. It's going to be a rough 10 days for President Biden. Just as news breaks that under the Obama-Biden administration, the U.S. was routinely and illegally spying on its European allies, he is preparing to meet those same allies first at the G7 summit in England on June 11th through the 13th, and then at the June 14th NATO meetings in Brussels. Make no mistake, Joe Biden is up to his eyeballs in this scandal. Ed Snowden tweeted late last month when news broke that the U.S. teamed up with Danes to spy on the rest of Europe, that Biden is well prepared to answer for this when he soon visits Europe since. Of course, he was deeply involved in this scandal the first time around. Though Germany's Merkel and France's Macron have been loyal U.S. lapdogs, the revelation of how Washington treats its allies has put them in the rare position of having to criticize Washington. Outrageous, unacceptable are how they're responding to the news. Russia has been routinely accused without evidence of malign conduct and interference in internal U.S. affairs. But it turns out that the country actually doing the spying and meddling was the U.S. all along, and against its own allies. Surely this irony is not lost on Putin. Biden has bragged in the U.S. media that he would be taking Putin to task for Russia's treatment of political dissidents like Alexei Navalny. Biden wrote recently in the Washington Post that when he meets Putin, I will again underscore the commitment of the United States, Europe, and like-minded democracies to stand up for human rights and dignity. Perhaps President Putin will remind him of how the Biden administration continues to the slow-motion murder of Julian Assange for the non-crime of being a journalist exposing government misdeeds. Perhaps Putin will remind Biden of how U.S. political dissidents are being treated, such as the hundreds arrested for what the Democrats and the mainstream media laughably call the January 6th insurrection. Many of these nonviolent and unarmed protesters have been held in solitary confinement with no chance of bail, even though they have no prior arrests or convictions. Most await trial on minor charges that may not even take place until next year. The Washington foreign policy establishment is hopelessly corrupt. The weaponization of the US dollar to bring the rest of the world to heel is backfiring. Only a serious change in course toward non-interventionism and non-aggression can avert a disaster. Time is running out. End of article. Okay, so I'm going to be following Biden's visit to Europe, to NATO, and of course the Super Bowl of it when he joins up with Putin, and see how that summit turns out. So stay tuned, subscribe, hit the notification button. Don't miss the next episodes because it's going to be pretty interesting with what might be coming out of Biden's mouth over there in Europe. I'll see you in the next episode, and have a good night.